Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The sun was rising over Washington, D.C., casting its golden rays on the stone buildings and immaculate avenues. Marcus Reynolds, a respected U.S. Army general, was driving through the city in his black armored sedan, which he was driving himself that morning. Every gesture, every movement of Marcus exuded discipline, his hands firmly on the wheel, his gaze fixed on the road, his suit impeccably tailored. Marcus was a man in his late 40s, tall, imposing, with features etched by years of military service. His medals, which he wore proudly at ceremonies, symbolized 30 years of an exemplary career, marked by high-risk missions and strategic decisions that had saved lives. Today, however, he found himself in the relative anonymity of an urban morning, dressed in civilian clothes, thinking about his speech on armed forces reform. He loved this city, but he also knew its contradictions. In the quiet streets, hurried passers-by walked, some casting furtive glances at the luxury cars. Marcus knew that, despite his rank and accomplishments, his dark skin still aroused suspicion in some. But he had never doubted his dignity, much less his patience. Suddenly, blue and red flashing lights appeared behind him. Marcus felt a slight tension in the air. A police officer, looking determined, signaled him to pull over. Marcus slowed down, stopping precisely, his heart calm, but his mind alert. The officer, Kevin Thompson, white, with a rigid expression, approached the car. He observed Marcus with a mixture of suspicion and arrogance, completely unaware of the identity of the man before him. "Good morning, sir. May I ask why you are arresting me?" asked Marcus, his voice firm but polite. Thompson didn't respond immediately, staring at Marcus suspiciously. To him, Marcus was just a black driver in a luxury car, and in his warped mind, that justified all the violence and authority he thought he could wield. Marcus didn't yet know that this stop would mark the beginning of a national scandal, revealing not only the weakness of certain authorities, but also the strength and dignity of a black man in the face of injustice. Marcus Reynolds felt the cold breath of tension as Officer Thompson approached. The policeman, his eyes narrowed and his jaw clenched, demanded, "Get out of the vehicle, sir. Now." Marcus slowly raised his hands, respectful but firm. "May I know the exact reason for my arrest?" he asked calmly. But Thompson, carried away by his arrogance, replied in a curt tone, "I suspect a theft. Show me your hands and get out of the car." Marcus obeyed, though every fiber of his being protested against this disgraceful treatment. He stepped out of the car, his suit immaculate, his posture straight, exuding dignity and military experience. He knew his career and honor were beyond reproach, but Thompson seemed blinded by deeply ingrained prejudices. Passers-by had already stopped, taking out their phones to film. A woman in a nearby car whispered to her husband, "He's a general, I recognize him." But Marcus couldn't afford to challenge Thompson's decision on the spot. Every move had to be calculated. "You are under arrest on suspicion of theft," Thompson ordered, brutally handcuffing him. Marcus felt the cold metal around his wrists, a symbol of an injustice he had never deserved. Despite the humiliation, Marcus remained calm. "Agent Thompson, I am General Marcus Reynolds. I am decorated for my military service, and I request to speak to my lawyer immediately." Thompson sneered, completely ignoring Marcus's decorations and reputation. "It doesn't matter who you are. You're going to cooperate." The scene unfolded in the street, with silent, horrified witnesses. Marcus was escorted to the police vehicle, under the shocked gazes of passers-by. Phone cameras captured every moment, the handcuffed black general, docile yet dignified, facing a white police officer confident in his authority. Once in the car, Marcus didn't let any negative emotion show. He knew this humiliation could be used as leverage to denounce the injustice. His mind began to formulate a plan to turn the situation to his advantage, but for now, he had to remain calm, patient, and observe Thompson's reactions. Outside, rumors of the arrest were already spreading on social media. The first videos showed a respectable black man being treated like a criminal. In these images, anger and injustice mingled with Marcus's unwavering dignity, and viewers instinctively sensed that this scandal would only escalate. Thus began the story of Marcus Reynolds' public humiliation, laying the groundwork for a powerful counterattack, where justice and human dignity would ultimately triumph over racism and arrogance. At the police station, Marcus Reynolds was led into a small, sparsely furnished interrogation room. The gray walls and cold lighting only accentuated the humiliation of the situation. Despite this, Marcus remained upright, dignified, and silent as Officer Thompson continued his baseless accusations. "So, General, why were you driving so fast this morning?" Thompson asked, attempting to construct a story to justify his arrest. Marcus replied calmly, each word carefully chosen. "Officer Thompson, I was driving within the speed limit, heading to an official meeting. I still don't understand why I was stopped." But Thompson, blinded by his prejudices, replied contemptuously. "Your titles don't matter. You're a suspect. You're black and you drive a luxury car. That's all I need to act." Marcus felt a surge of anger, but he suppressed it. He knew that any outburst of rage would only worsen the situation. Instead, he picked up his phone and dialed the number of his trusted assistant, Colonel Jessica Turner. "Jessica, this is Marcus. I've been arrested, unjustly. Immediately activate our network of military and media contacts. I want this injustice exposed." Jessica Turner, a brilliant and respected black woman in the military, reacted without hesitation. She contacted the military hierarchy, alerted civil rights lawyers, and circulated the first images of the arrest. Social media quickly erupted. The videos showed a black general in handcuffs, treated like a common criminal. The hashtag Justice for Marcus began to spread. Meanwhile, back at the police station, Thompson was starting to feel the pressure. Phone calls were pouring in, and his superiors in the department were demanding immediate explanations. Surveillance cameras and witness videos proved beyond any doubt that Thompson had acted on the basis of racial prejudice. Marcus, for his part, calmly drafted a formal complaint against Thompson for abuse of power and racial discrimination. He knew his composure and dignity would be his greatest asset. Reporters flocked to the station, interviewing witnesses and filming every moment. Bystanders who had witnessed the scene came forward to share their accounts, confirming the blatant injustice. Marcus's counterattack was underway. What had begun as a public humiliation was now turning into a national scandal. Thompson, once so self-assured, found himself in the spotlight, unable to control the magnitude of his own mistake. The general knew that this battle would not be fought solely in that small interrogation room, but on the broader field of justice, public opinion, and human dignity. And he was ready to win it. A few days after the arrest, Officer Kevin Thompson began to feel the consequences of his actions. Videos showing Marcus Reynolds handcuffed in the street had gone viral on social media and were being broadcast on every national television network. Public opinion was unanimous: a decorated and respected black general had been humiliated for purely racial reasons. The police department, under pressure, opened an internal investigation. Thompson was summoned by his superiors for a disciplinary interview. Every question asked seemed designed to reprimand him and highlight his biases. The evidence was overwhelming. Marcus Reynolds was a decorated and respected general. The arrest had no legal basis. The video and witness statements confirmed the behavior Thompson's aggressive and racist. During the hearing, Thompson attempted to justify himself clumsily. I thought it was." But his words were lost in a heavy silence. Public anger and the indignation of his colleagues left no room for apology. Karma struck hard. Thompson was immediately suspended with the possibility of dismissal. His career, which he thought was solid, crumbled in an instant. The media also revealed his tainted past with allegations of abuse of power and discrimination, which completely destroyed his credibility. Meanwhile, Marcus Reynolds received a flood of messages of support from politicians, military personnel, and citizens. True to his dignity, the general did not seek to publicly humiliate Thompson. Instead, he focused on justice and redress, he collaborated with his lawyers to launch legal action against the officer, while also working with the Department of Defense to raise awareness among law enforcement about bias and discrimination. Social media was abuzz with messages of support, #Justice for Marcus, #RespectAndDignity, and #StopRacism spread like wildfire. Citizens demanded severe sanctions against the officer and the implementation of mandatory training to prevent such injustices in the future. Thompson, on the other hand, was now isolated, ashamed, and aware that his career and reputation were irreversibly damaged. Marcus, in contrast, saw his dignity intact and his voice amplified. The initial injustice was now transformed into an example of courage and resilience in the face of arrogance and racism. The general had proven, without hatred or violence, that truth and dignity always triumph. And karma, implacable, had found its target. A few weeks after the incident, Marcus Reynolds was invited to a military gala held in his honor. The grand ballroom, adorned with navy blue draperies and crystal chandeliers, was filled with high-ranking officers, politicians, and influential civilians. All eyes were on the black general who, just weeks earlier, had been humiliated in the street. Marcus entered with the dignity and poise of a man who had nothing to prove. His perfectly tailored suit, military decorations, and imposing presence instantly silenced any murmur of doubt or disdain. Every step he took resonated as a symbol of strength and resilience. When he stepped onto the stage to deliver his speech, silence fell over the room. The cameras captured every moment, and Thompson, present in a corner as an unwitting guest representing his department, felt the weight of his own shame. Marcus began. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice firm but calm, "what I have experienced is not simply a personal matter. It is a reminder that even those who serve their country with honor can be victims of prejudice. But what matters is our response to injustice." Applause erupted, and the emotion in the room was palpable. Marcus then announced the creation of a training program for law enforcement officers, aimed at preventing discrimination and promoting diversity and respect. His speech combined dignity, authority, and compassion, inspiring all who listened. Thompson, sitting in a corner, realized his attempt at humiliation had failed. The public saw not a courageous or righteous police officer, but an arrogant man overwhelmed by events. Marcus, on the other hand, received praise from military personnel, lawyers, and citizens. His moral and professional standing had been enhanced by the ordeal. At the end of the evening, Marcus was acclaimed and honored, not only for his military achievements, but also for his ability to transform public humiliation into a lesson in justice and courage. The message was clear: dignity and truth always triumph. Thompson, humiliated and discredited, was now nothing more than a memory of vanquished arrogance. Marcus Reynolds left the gala to applause, knowing that he had not only restored his honor but also sent a powerful message to anyone who would try to judge or oppress others based on the color of their skin. His victory was not just personal, it belonged to everyone who believes in justice, dignity, and respect.